There's this incredible mental skill you have, one that you use literally every single day, probably without even thinking about it. It's this invisible framework that helps you make sense of pretty much everything. To show you what I mean, let's just start with a really simple question. No, really, think about it. When you see one of these animals, you don't have to pull out a biology textbook, right? You don't take measurements. It's just instant. It's almost like magic. So how on earth does your brain do that so fast and so accurately? Well, it turns out you're using a specific cognitive tool. It's kind of like you've got this piece of software running in the background of your mind, constantly sorting and labeling the world around you. And the author that we're looking at today actually gives this thing a name. It's called the general standard. Now, this isn't some strict scientific definition that you had to memorize in school. Not at all. It's more of a vague, gut-level feeling you have for what makes a thing, well, that thing. It's the whole collection of traits that pops into your head when you think of a dog, or a tree, or even a chair. Okay, so what's really fascinating here is how we actually use this standard. The author says it really breaks down into two main functions, two different ways this mental tool helps us make sense of reality.
First up, we've got the external application. This is the one that's probably the most obvious. It's how we tell completely different things apart from each other.
And this is a perfect way to picture it. You have a general standard in your head for dogness, and you have a totally separate one for wolfness. So when you see a new animal, your brain just instinctively compares it to both of these internal blueprints, and boom, you know exactly which box it fits in. That's the external application in a nutshell. But here's where it gets a little more nuanced. Let's talk about the second use, the internal application. This is how we use that same general standard to make judgments inside of a single category. So let's stick with our dog example. We all have a pretty good sense of what a standard dog is, right? It's healthy, usually has 4 legs, a tail, all that good stuff. Because we have that standard, we can also recognize when a dog is below standard, say a poor pup that's lost a leg in an accident. And this is really important. We can also identify a pathological standard, like a dog that has some kind of sickness or genetic disease. And that is the key insight from the author here. When it comes to animals, this is super easy for us. We don't look at a sick dog and just say, oh, well, its illness is just another beautiful and rich variation of what a dog can be. Nope, we instinctively, immediately know there's a real difference between a healthy standard and an unhealthy or pathological one. Okay, so all of this seems pretty straightforward, right? We have this mental tool, it helps us sort the world. We can tell a dog from a wolf, and we can tell a healthy dog from a sick one. Seems like basic common sense. And that brings us to the real gut punch of this whole idea. If this is so easy and so obvious for every other species on the planet, why do we seem to fail so spectacularly when we try to apply that same thinking to ourselves? This is what the author calls the human dilemma. Our complete and utter failure to even agree on what a general standard for our own species would look like. And the consequences of this failure, according to the author, are absolutely massive. The author argues that when people don't have their own internal sense of a general standard for humanity, they basically lose the ability to think for themselves. What happens? They become followers, they become members and supporters, just adopting whatever standard is handed to them by some outside group or ideology. And this lack of a standard doesn't just make people stop thinking independently. The author warns that it creates a really deep and dangerous confusion about what it even means to be a healthy, well-functioning human being in the first place. And here it is. This is the core warning. When a society completely loses its grip on what standard even means, it starts to mistake things that are unhealthy, dysfunctional, what the author calls pathological, for being normal. The lines just get totally blurred and we lose the ability to make clear judgments about our own collective well-being. So you see how a simple idea that starts with telling a dog from a wolf suddenly spirals into something with huge implications. For the author, this isn't just some fun philosophical game. Trying to define our own standard is an urgent, critical task for the health and progress of our entire species. So I'll just leave you with the central question that this whole idea raises. The author is suggesting that a species that can't even define its own healthy standard is a species that risks losing its way completely. It's a pretty heavy thought to chew on as we try to figure out our very complex world.